I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, it's 5 and a horse, I'm ready for war, I'm coming for throats, to turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. Now you be surprised at the info you get is by letting them talk, so I'm letting them talk.
What's going on, everybody? We are back. Oh, man, it feels good to be back. Another Damn Fantasy podcast presented by Bite Size Sports. We are now on a new channel, so make sure you hit that like, that subscribe, and follow along. A lot of great shows that are going to be going on here with the whole company. So, yeah, follow along with everything we got going. We're covering fantasy football, of course. Trevor and I, we got that covered. But basketball, I mean, we got a whole litany of shows, and maybe Trevor can expand on that.
Absolutely. The network is hopping. Basketball on Thursday nights, NFL stuff on Tuesday nights. We did some playback stuff for the college basketball. So just get over there and check out Bite Size Sports. Subscribe. And, of course, hit the like button on our video while you're here to help us out.
Damn right.
Let's go.
Awesome. Well, man, a lot's happened since the last time we met up on and got to talk some fantasy and some football, man.
Yeah, it's been a couple weeks. Obviously, with the whole move, it kind of just threw us off a week. But I know we both have in-laws in town last week, right? So
Yep.
we kind of just had to keep pushing off. But first Wednesday in April, it's draft month.
Woo!
Kansas City's hosting it. It's a great month here for you and I for sure. So I'm glad that we can get a couple shows in here before the draft.
Absolutely. Got it on the home turf, man. I see the sign downtown. The buzz is starting. The buzz is starting up here in Kansas City.
Very much so. Schools are starting to cancel those couple days, and it's just
really, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's that's where we're at right now. So we are ready for the draft to be here in Kansas City. I'm pumped for it. I'll be going down. I'm going to take my 7-year-old down there Friday, take him out of school. I'm like, look, man, you'll learn on Monday. I'm taking you out of school. We're going downtown. I want to get some experience. So it's really cool. Like, it's not something I would have ever probably traveled to.
Yeah.
So for it to be here in Kansas City, man, like, you got to take advantage of it if we can.
And who knows when it's going to come back? I mean,
Absolutely.
you gotta live in that moment as much as possible for sure.
There's 32 NFL teams. If every one of them hosted it, right?
We're the champs, baby.
We'll have grandkids by the time it comes back to Kansas City.
Absolutely. But today we'll talk about free agency, recap that a little bit, see what some of the fantasy football implications are, some of those moves and signings, a little bit more of a dull free agency than what we've seen, especially compared to last year. It was like, we were at the peak of moves and trades, and obviously things got crazier when the draft rolled around. So we'll see if that picks up again this year. But man, it was just a little more dead than I think what all of us were waiting on,
And maybe it is because last year was so out of control with the different trades and whatnot. Like, maybe that's why it feels that way. But it also is like there's a lot of, well, this guy might get traded. And then, like, you're like, what? It's not happening. And then all these guys are requesting trades, like Eckler and Henry might get traded. And is Aaron Rodgers, like, it's just all these unknowns that, over the next month or two, they might fall into place and it might get crazy. But, yeah, just not necessarily as hectic and not really a lot of excitement around the free agency. There's not a lot of big names out there. Tyreek Hill got traded last year early in the season. Like, just not a lot of big names. AJ Brown during the draft. Yeah. So hopefully we get a couple of things just to spark some excitement here.
Yeah, we'll touch on that. We'll touch on who's still left out there on the market for real quick, and then we'll end the show by talking about the NFL draft. Obviously, we're right around the corner. We got some rookies to watch, right?
That's right.
Our dynasty drafts are coming up. I've actually seen some on Twitter where people have already done their dynasty draft and grabbed rookies, and I wouldn't want to do that before I know what team they're playing on.
Yeah, I think it's a little too early to actually have real drafts, right? I mean, mock draft all you want.
Right.
Kind of get a feel for how that's going to look with your current team. You're always preparing. Kind of see, maybe you don't like who keeps falling to you at 108, and so maybe you want to move that pick instead of hold it and wait for the draft so you can do a lot with mock drafts, but yes, real dynasty rookie drafts happening right now. It's just way, way too early for rookie drafts. I don't care if you want to play best ball and those kind of things right now, go after it. But
Yeah.
for dynasty, like you've spent years on this team, you can't be drafting before the NFL draft.
This is like that masterpiece, that Mona Lisa that you've been working
That's
on, and you're
right.
trying to rush it.
Can't do that. You can't be doing that. You got
Well,
to give it time.
hopefully, hopefully it doesn't come back to bite anyone that's that's done their drafts that early. I know I'm eager too, for sure. I'm
Oh yeah.
ready to be in full swing of fantasy, and I really feel like after the draft, you got sort of another month where you're waiting on things to shake out, seeing if there's any other moves, any other trades, and then once training camp hits, that's mock season, baby, and it's time
Oh yeah.
to get those redraft mocks going. So I'm ready for all of that. I want it all.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. We do most of our rookie drafts in middle of May into June a little bit. Get those kind of out of the way
Yeah,
as it's hot off the press. But then you turn over almost a redraft at that point, right? You kind of get the dynasty stuff out of the way and then get into
right.
redraft season. And it's never ending. It's never ending fantasy football. And if you're enjoying it, you got to keep coming right back here every Wednesday night or every other Wednesday night, whatever we decide over the next couple of months. But either way, you got to keep joining us because we're going to be here talking the fantasy football and getting you all caught up
Right.
each and every week.
At least during the off season, it'll be every other Wednesday or whatever the schedule allows. During the season, we're full force, baby. We're
Full
every
every
week
week.
coming at you. We'll probably start it up early August to get that training camp scoop in there and get you ready for your draft. So let's get it started, dude. I mean, free agency, like we already said, kind of dull. We saw some early moves with Derek Carr going to the Saints. We saw Robert Woods sign with the Texans, but outside of that, not a ton of big names. I think there's a couple that can carry some fantasy implications. Someone like DJ Moore, who maybe
Man,
underperformed, and now he's in this new situation in Chicago. I don't know how that offense is going to do for him, but I am excited to see what happens.
I am really excited about DJ Moore in Chicago. We're going to talk rookies, and there is one rookie that I think that could be a great link as well to the Chicago Bears coming out of the draft,
Mhm.
which would just be even better, right? But no, I think I really like what the Chicago Bears did this offseason. I am impressed that they just moved on from David Montgomery, which they
Yeah,
needed to. Now you got Khalil Herbert as the number one running back there. You
love
got
it.
DJ Moore coming in. Obviously, Justin Fields started to take some steps forward last year. Now that Matt Nagy wasn't his head football coach anymore. So I like what the Chicago Bears are doing this offseason, and we'll see how it turns out, obviously. But fantasy wise, I don't mind getting a guy like DJ Moore in probably fourth or fifth round this offseason.
So is Justin Fields your Trey Lance this year?
Oh man, already starting with the Trey. Maybe Trey Lance is my Trey Lance this year. Come on now, come on. No, yeah, I'm gonna love me some Justin Fields. I rode him quite often last year. Picked him up on the free
Same.
agents. He was a streaming type quarterback. Then he just became the starting quarterback for your fantasy team. So love me some Justin Fields last year. That rushing upside, man. We're going to talk about rookies, and there's a rookie quarterback that I love too because of that rushing upside.
Yeah.
That's what I'm chasing all the time, and so Justin Fields is absolutely a guy that I want to see on my teams next year, especially if they continue to just build around him, which you like to see.
For sure, absolutely. The Bears definitely intrigue me, even outside of fantasy. Just as an NFL fan, they're going to be an interesting team to watch and see how their offense gels together. They've got some real pieces around Justin Fields now, so I think that's going to be a huge benefit to him, both with his on the field performance and what he can do for your fantasy teams. Speaking of David Montgomery, he's with the Lions now. He just went across across the division to join up with Dan Campbell in the gang. What does that mean for DeAndre Swift, man? That backfield's looking a little crowded. Does he take more of a Jamal Williams role and still vulture those touchdowns, or is it? I mean, what's going to happen? You think?
I would see it a little bit more Jamal Williams. I don't think that they're going to. I think Dan Campbell just absolutely loved Jamal Williams, which I was very surprised that Jamal Williams didn't just go back to Detroit.
I was
So I don't
too.
know if he's going to have that love affair. that Jamal Williams had there in Detroit. But yeah, that's what Dan Campbell wants to do. He wants to run the football, contrary to the high flying offense he had last year. Right? This is the same guy that talked about biting ankles or whatever. Remember whenever he got hired and he was
one
like
of them kneecaps.
That's right. So that's what he wants. He wants that hard nosed run the ball type of style on offense anyway. So, David Montgomery definitely will fit that. I believe that Montgomery is really going to be more of a like Zeke was this past year.
Yeah.
Right? Once Pollard really started taking over, you would see Zeke in that goal line setting or those short downs, short yardage situations. And I think that David Montgomery probably looks to fill something like that more. Not necessarily something I will be chasing on my fantasy team, but it also gives them depth too. So you don't mind that.
Yeah, that could be one of those situations where you draft the handcuff, right? A lot of people they took Zeke and then came back around and got Pollard or vice versa.
Yep.
We see it every year with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with Kareem, but could be another situation like that where inevitably there's going to be a combination of running backs that gets hurt. One of them does, and the other benefits immensely. I mean, just look at what happened with Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson last year too, right? Harris
Absolutely.
missed some time, and Stevenson popped off, and it was his job from there on out. So
Penny and Rashad Penny, Kenneth Walker.
Exactly. Kenneth Walker became the bell cow over there. A lot of potential for that for sure. And then we got a question.
Williams. Well, I mean, let's just talk Jamal Williams. Michael kind of set us up here, right? He says Jamal Williams might be the most likable player in the league, at least for Michael. How did Detroit let him leave with that and his performances? Like, you're right. I also don't understand how Detroit let him leave, but Jamal Williams is also like, what is he, 29, 30 he feels like he's potentially over 30 at this point. He's just been in the league for so long.
I think he came out in 2016 in the draft, the year before they took Aaron Jones, maybe, or might have even been the same year in 2017. So I'm not entirely sure. He's getting close to that cliff, though, that we see running backs go on. But his value is in the red zone. That's what it's been the last couple of years. He beat the record of, I don't know, you might know the guy, Barry Sanders there in Detroit. So I think that carries a lot of weight. And it definitely surprised me that the Lions didn't keep him because he seemed to fit the mold there, the culture. And he even made some comments about it after he signed with the Saints. But, the Saints, they've got Alvin Kamara, sure, but he's got a pending suspension.
Yeah, he's got legal issues, probably at minimum 4 games.
Right. And I'm thinking more 6 to 8 with everything going on with him. So, Jamal Williams is going to be in line for a nice little role. There we go. 28. So still getting close to that ceiling. Like if you're in dynasty formats, obviously you're probably not banking on Jamal Williams taking you to the Super Bowl on his own. But in those redraft leagues, you maybe got 1 or 2 more years of any kind of viable fantasy value from him.
And early in the season, right? With that Kamara suspension potentially being half the season, you get a little bit more value early in the season. If you've got him in dynasty, maybe that you can wait until that Kamara news breaks, and then maybe you can move on from Williams and let somebody else, hold the bag to say.
Right. That could also, it could be some trade bait there too.
Yeah, that's right.
So, and then tight ends, man, a lot of movement there. Mike Gesicki goes to the Patriots. Schultz, the sought-after Dalton Schultz, joins the Texans. So they're tooling up for that rookie quarterback.
Yeah, the Texans, they've done a pretty good job this offseason as well. Some of these bad teams, they didn't just sit around and wait till the draft. They went out and got guys and
got proactive.
Yeah, I like to see that from some of these bottom feeder teams.
Yeah, I hope the Texans do well. That's the thing with rookie quarterbacks, right? They get drafted by these bad teams that have poor cultures, and they're expecting them to succeed when they're surrounded by mediocrity. But with the Texans, they've actually grabbed some viable pieces. They have enough draft capital to not only draft, obviously, their quarterback of the future, but some additional pieces for that quarterback, right? A lot of mocks have them taking receivers in the draft with that number 12 pick that they have. And Dalton Schultz is a solid tight end. I mean, we saw what he could do with Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. I think that's a great fit for him with that rookie quarterback coming in.
Yeah, I think the tight end is going to be interesting next year, as it always is.
You're right.
But there's there's
Crapshoot.
a couple tight ends coming into the league. There's a couple young tight ends that we expected to be better than they've been so far over the first year or two. So are they going to start taking the next step? And then you got some of these veterans moving around, like Mike Gesicki. Like that guy is good. He's got great ability. He's athletic, but it's just not. He didn't fit what Miami Dolphins wanted to do. So
Right.
now with him moving on to a team that's actually going to potentially utilize the tight end much more in the New England Patriots. I mean, they'll run out 4 tight ends if they could. Bill Belichick loves his tight ends. So now you're at a team that's going to utilize tight ends. So it'll just be really interesting to see how this thing shakes out over the course of the season, because a lot of big name tight ends moving. And from fantasy perspectives, like 1 or 2 of these guys have to hit in their new spots. And it's just might be, finding out which one it is early and hitting on that guy.
Man, Darren Waller was a move that surprised me.
Wow.
I did not think the Raiders were going to move him. And the poor guy just gets married to his wife, who plays for the Las Vegas Aces down there. And then they ship him off like the same week that the guy gets married to New York, across the country. But, that just shows the Giants are serious about getting Daniel Jones weapons too.
Yep. That's big time for the Giants. It doesn't make sense from the Raiders' perspective, in my opinion. Maybe it's a cap move. Maybe they just think Waller is
30.
like 30. Yeah, I know 30. He is 30. So maybe they were just looking to move on. But, I mean, you just bring in Devontae Adams, and Josh Jacobs comes off a career year. You're bringing in a new quarterback. And then you get rid of
Myers is there too. I mean,
it just kind of felt like it was opposite of everything else they had done this offseason. So that's a little odd, but there was some rumor around him getting traded last year. Maybe things just didn't work out the way that, in the front office and with Darren Waller. But yes, kudos to the Giants getting another big time wide receiver, or tight end, like pass catcher, I should say, utilizing that 3rd round pick from the Chiefs, who used it to get Kadarius Toney. They flip it to get Darren Waller. Although the Chiefs have, Kadarius Toney now, I think that the Giants probably, from the Giants' perspective, they won. If you think about it, they got rid of Toney and get Darren Waller.
Good,
so that's a really good trade-off for them.
That's a good flip for sure.
Really good.
The Chiefs would probably be willing to trade a 3rd for Darren Waller. You know what
right.
I mean? Even though we have Kelsey, like, you can line Kelsey up in the slot or outside, and same with Waller. I mean, they're just so dynamic.
Absolutely. Just run 2 tight ends all the time.
So there are a couple free agents still on the market, but nothing too crazy. I mean, really, there's 4 guys that I think, as far as like free agents go, that can make an actual impact, not just on a team, but for fantasy perspectives as well. And it's 3 running backs, right? Fournette, Zeke, and Kareem Hunt. And then the always wondering where he's going to go, Odell Beckham Jr. I mean, he's been kind of hanging out there in the ether for over 365 days now. So
it's been a while since we've seen him.
So you don't know what's going to happen with him, but really outside of that, I mean, it's a lot of older veterans, maybe a couple of unproven younger players who, whether they had a fair shot or whatever the case might be, it's just not a lot of huge, big names. There's not a lot of clout out there. So I'm really just looking at these guys as like the last dominoes to fall, maybe after the draft. Like, I could see those guys getting signed in June or July.
Especially these running backs. They've got some legs still left in their legs. But I think teams are going to kind of see how the draft falls first, right? See what they can do with this running back class, and then maybe go out and get a veteran. Also, we know, injuries will happen. Things like that are just flukes that you can't control. I wouldn't mind, honestly, we'll see how the draft goes. I wouldn't mind the Chiefs bringing one of these guys in. They're not going to bring Kareem Hunt in. But, a guy like Leonard Fournette to kind of be that veteran guy that they always seem to have. He can catch passes. He can pass block. He's got all the tangibles that a guy like Andy Reid wants to see. I think that just from a Chiefs perspective, I think that wouldn't be a bad fit for a year or two, as you still run out your young guys for 2 or 3 downs every time, but you got the veteran there, the savvy veteran as they always bring in. So,
Oh
but
yeah.
yeah, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. Some of these teams are just going to wait it out, see what happens in the draft, and then go out and get a guy like Zeke or Leonard Fournette, even Kareem Hunt. I think he's still got some life left in his legs
Oh yeah.
for sure.
He's got
And
juice.
I don't know. I don't know if OBJ is even healthy. There's got to be something else going on with OBJ. Seems just odd to me. That
Everything I'm seeing is contract related, but
he wants too much money.
he's coming off an ACL. That's tricky. He's 30. I mean, there's all
Yeah.
and he's injured his ACL before. Like, there's a lot of question marks surrounding OBJ, and I'm rooting for him, man. I want him to come back and be the guy that he was before that injury, because he's starting to look damn good in the Rams system, especially what he was doing in the first half of that Super Bowl against
That's
the Bengals.
right.
So,
He needs
yeah,
to go the Juju route. Come in somewhere, get a $2 million base pay with a
right.
whole ton of
Incentive.
incentives.
Yeah.
Right. And if you stay healthy, you perform, whatever. Juju ended up making like nearly 8 million last year for the Chiefs. So do
Yeah.
something like that.
He got like $1 million when they won the Super Bowl.
Go earn your paycheck. Nobody wants to pay you because of what you did 3 years ago at this point.
Right. Exactly. Looking at some trade rumors, I mean, there's a lot of vets. You kind of alluded to it earlier. Austin Eckler, man, that's getting
Austin
ugly.
Eckler. Yeah. That's man. You want to talk about a running back that any team would take.
No
This guy
kidding.
is absolutely just electric when the football's
Led
in
the
his
league in
hands.
touchdowns last year, man.
I don't,
Total
I don't,
touchdowns.
I don't actually expect him to be traded. I think that they'll figure it out. Kind of like the Cam Akers Rams situation when
That was weird.
yeah, right. I don't know if it's going to get that weird, but it is getting ugly. It seems. I was a little surprised Keenan Allen went back. Like I was kind of expecting him to potentially be
Yeah.
moving on too. But yeah, the Chargers have some weapons there. They need to keep this team together if they want to get a chance to push the Bills and Chiefs and Bengals in the AFC. They got it all put together. It's just a matter of keeping it together at this point. So, yeah, Austin
Taylor
Eckler,
Golden
man,
time.
that'd be crazy if he was traded. That would be AJ Brown, Tyreek Hill type of crazy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It would create a buzz for sure. Same with the
Yeah.
D-Hop rumors, right? I don't want to bore everyone watching and listening with more D-Hop and Aaron Rodgers trade
Yeah.
talk, but I mean, those are all guys that could potentially move on draft day.
Yep.
Eckler, you never know what's going to happen. Such a strong running back class. Maybe the Chargers do get motivated to move him if they don't feel like they can close ground. Where does
Mm-hmm.
Eckler go? Man, I have no idea.
No.
I have no idea. He could go anywhere.
It could be exactly like the AJ Brown situation, right? Where
Yeah.
they could straight up trade him for the 15th pick and then take Bijan Robinson. I don't know what, you know what I mean? Like if he falls far enough and he's like, hey, you guys, you could be a Super Bowl team with Austin Eckler, take him and we'll take the rookie.
Even if it's
That's
in the second or third round, right? Like
Yeah.
the running back class has quite a bit of talent where they could scoop somebody that can go in and they can pair him with Isaiah Spiller because they still have him in the backfield,
Yep.
So a lot that the Chargers can do in the trade market. And there's a lot
What
of
about-
Chiefs rumors too.
What about this trade? Bill Belichick comes out. He's been trying to shop Mac Jones this offseason, which is odd. Just 2 years from picking him number 15 overall. Colts should try for Mac Jones. 2 years left on his rookie deal. Could get their cap back under control, which is true. The Colts do have a cap issue. I think it will really depend on what the Colts think. I mean, our guy Kev doesn't seem like he wants the Colts to be drafting Will Levis, but that's kind of who keeps getting tagged with the Colts.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What do you think about Mac Jones to the Colts?
Man, Mac Jones to the Colts, I feel like it could make sense, right? He's kind of like the quarterback they always go after, that pocket guy, not really like a super athletic guy, although Andrew Luck could run. I feel like that could make sense. I don't know. I feel like Will Levis is a similar play style to what Mac
Yeah.
Jones is bringing to the table. Maybe he's a little bit more talented, but he's also a little bit more raw, right? Mac Jones is able to come in and have at least some moderate success with the Patriots offense because of his how old he was, how much experience he had there at Bama, right? He went all 4 years. So there's all those things that helped Mac Jones that, you know, I mean, I feel like it'd be an apples to apples comparison going from Will Levis to Mac Jones. And I've been seeing a lot of mocks too that have Anthony Richardson going there to Indy. So I mean,
That would
I
be
don't
fun.
know. I feel like Richardson has a higher ceiling, a little more yeah, for sure. Mac Jones has great accuracy.
Yeah.
He's one of the better pass completers, I guess you could say, in the NFL. But you know, with Mac Jones getting shopped around, you almost wonder, like, does New England want to go after Will Levis, and that's why they would trade him to Indy, you know, or do they really like Hendon Hooker? Now that his stock's rising a little bit, there's all these different things that can kind of pan out with that QB search, and I've been doing a lot of mock research to see kind of where people are thinking players going to fall. So, you know, it's definitely interesting, right? I didn't think of the Colts immediately whenever I saw that
No.
rumor come out, right? So that's an interesting take on it because you feel like the Colts, you know, they're so all these reporters that think they know what's going on, they're like, oh, Colts are for sure taking this quarterback at the 4th. They may even trade up to pick 3 just because they don't want to, you know, run the risk
Somebody
of
else to
someone
do
else
it.
jumping them. Yeah. So, you know, who knows? Who knows?
You know what? I don't really understand some of these teams like like Washington. You know, they're like, oh no, this Sam Howell's our guy. Well, maybe, but if Mac Jones is available, Lamar Jackson's available, like there's
Right.
some good NFL quarterbacks and some great ones. Like Lamar Jackson is great. He might not be a great passer, but he is a great quarterback if you
MVP.
run the right system, right? Yeah, what do you have? Like 50 touchdowns that year or something. So
Something
whatever
crazy.
it was, like I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get some of these organizations who are like, no, we're just gonna chill out with Brock Purdy. Like, no, it's fine. Geno Smith's our guy, man. Like, we love Geno. He's our
Right.
great story, Geno Smith. But Lamar Jackson, dude, like
What are we
this is
doing
Lamar
here?
Jackson.
What are we doing
Why?
here?
I know that the contract has a lot to do with it, but come on.
But even Tampa, right? Tampa could
There's
go and trade for Lamar Jackson and compete right away
oh
in the
my god.
NFC. Could
They
you
could go for
imagine?
Mac Jones and compete right away.
All it's going to cost a team is 2 first-round picks because he's on that
Yeah.
tag. If they decide to send him an offer that can't be matched, they send their 2 picks. Tampa's picking, what, 19 this year, I think is where they're slotted. Next year, you know they're going to be in the playoffs. It's going to be a late first round then as well. I mean, what are we doing here? Why are we
Yeah.
making this complicated?
Yeah. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Kev chimed in here. He'd be torn between Levis and Mac. He might lean Levis on that one, our resident Colts fan. If you're here with us in the chat, jump on in, hit that like button if you would. We're gonna start to dive into. You want to talk a little Aaron Rodgers? Yeah, let's talk this. We'll talk about one more thing with being trades first, and then we're gonna jump into the rookie forecast. So as we go into the rookies, if you've got your own opinions about them, where would you be drafted? And we'll talk all that right after this last question around trades. But jump in the chat, be with us here, hit that like button, share the link with all your friends, and thank you all for being here. Dan, we already kind of know Aaron Rodgers is going to be traded. We talked about Austin Eckler, DeAndre Hopkins, Lamar Jackson. Who do you think, out of all the rumors out there, who do you think is the most likely to be traded outside of Aaron Rodgers? We're just assuming
Right.
that's already happened, right? So who do you think out there is most likely to actually be traded this offseason?
So I've got my eyes on the 2 Broncos receivers that have been getting, I guess all 3 have been getting trade rumors kind of tossed around. Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, and even KJ Hamler a little bit I've seen kind of get tossed around out there. I could absolutely see these guys trading one of these receivers. The Broncos are barren. They do not have a lot of draft capital after the Russell Wilson trade. They were able to acquire a first-round pick back for Bradley Chubb last year from the Dolphins through the Niners, so they're picking like 29 overall. But I could absolutely see them trading one of those players. Now, okay, I see Lee here is throwing Judy out. I could absolutely see that happening. Maybe they don't want to pay him. Right, he's coming up on a new contract. All those 2020 receivers, they're going to get paid here soon. Cortland Sutton's already making a lot of money, so I could see him getting shipped off too, so that they can pay Judy if that's going to be their long-term plan. So I think those two guys are really the two main dominoes that could fall with the Broncos, and I think it happens on draft night if it does.
Yeah, that'd be very interesting. I don't really think I even thought of those whenever I read this question the first time. Like the Broncos wide receivers didn't really come to mind, but I would say I would probably lean Judy as well if I were to have to bet on which one would get moved, just because, as what you mentioned, he hasn't been paid yet, right? And they've already locked in Cortland Sutton. They've already locked in Tim Patrick. I think they've already actually paid KJ Hamler. If I remember right. So
I think he's from the same class. I'm not sure if he got paid or not, but he's definitely he's under contract a couple more years for sure.
I know Tim Patrick definitely got an extension last year, and then he tore his ACL. So, that's why I could see it being Jerry Jeudy. Cortland Sutton has continued to kind of be the number one there in Denver. Jerry Jeudy never really could overtake him for long term. So maybe they just feel comfortable with Cortland Sutton. He definitely, to me, feels like he had a better rapport with Russell Wilson last year. So all that to be said, we'll find out. But yeah, I like that call, like Jerry Jeudy with a pocket. Jerry Jeudy with a pocket quarterback. Jerry Jeudy is anybody who can throw the ball. I was high on him as a rookie, and then I re-bought in for his second year because I started reading and hearing about all these stats about like uncatchable balls that were thrown his way. And I'm like, oh man, he's back in it this year. Obviously he has not been back in it yet, to the extent of where I expected him. I mean, I think I took him, 6th overall, maybe in the rookie draft. Like it was early in the rookie draft.
Yeah.
So,
well, he was the first receiver drafted that year.
Yeah.
By NFL teams. He got drafted over CD Lamb.
He's with CD and
Jefferson. Yeah.
I'm certain I took Jerry Jeudy and CD Lamb went next. Like I'm pretty sure that's what happened in my league. And Justin Jefferson,
how it happened in the actual
T.
draft.
Higgins, and there was one other cat there. Ruggs. Yeah. All those guys went a couple picks later. But yeah, I know I took Jerry Jeudy over CD Lamb, and I've regretted that ever since. I've regretted that ever since. I'm going to go with DeAndre Hopkins. I know that all that talk's out there. I think he'll actually be traded this offseason, and I think it will help Hollywood a little bit, give him a little bit more volume.
Yeah,
I'm not really relying on any Cardinals for fantasy purposes next year. Who knows when Kyler will play? They're really short, just the talent across the board in Arizona. So I'm just not really interested in any Cardinals. But I do think wherever Hopkins go, it'll elevate the quarterback and their fantasy outlook a little bit, just because now you're throwing to one of the best pass catchers in the game. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins is a freaking beast. So I do think he will be traded as well this offseason.
Yep. No, I could absolutely see that. DeAndre Hopkins, one of my favorite players that I, enjoy watching here in this league. And man, I would love to see him in Kansas City. I don't know how likely that is, just speaking from a fan perspective, but I who wouldn't want to trade for this guy? I mean, the guy has had success with any random backup quarterback that's in the league right now, likely threw a pass to him when he was with the Texans. So He had several 1,000-yard receiving seasons there. And if he didn't get suspended early in the season, he would have paced for damn near 1,400 yards and had close to double-digit touchdowns. So he's still got the juice, man. And I'd love to see him somewhere where he can flourish, if it's Kansas City or not.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him move on. anywhere. And I agree with you. Bring him to Kansas City. Bring it home. Come home. Get yourself a championship. Ride off into the sunset. But yeah, I agree. I would love to see him in Kansas City, especially with some of like the wide receivers that they have right now. He fits really well because there's nobody that can do what he can do.
Yeah. He's a big, tall, vertical. I mean, and he can do more than just that. He can take it over the middle. Like Juju took that role with him when he went to New England. And it was a nice compliment to have that with Travis Kelce. He wasn't taking all those hits and having to catch all those passes. I think it was a little tougher for defenses to guard Kelce too, which is why he had such a great year, especially in the red zone. So, I mean, bring him on.
Bring him on. Let's go. Yeah, I would love to see Hopkins in a Chiefs uniform. All right, Dan, let's talk rookies. Who's ready to talk some rookies? Do a little rookie forecast. We're gonna go, position by position tonight. Just kind of hit on some of the top names. We probably won't get super in depth. You might not find your third round sleeper from tonight's episode, but we did talk a little bit. Couple weeks here, we'll try to get on here, do a rookie mock draft before the NFL draft, just fantasy wise. And then also catch us on Bite Size Sports. Bite Size Sports has a NFL mock draft coming up. We haven't nailed down the time. We haven't nailed down the date. Dan, if you're diving into mock drafts, we got to get you on that stream if you're available.
You already know.
Because you know that you're in it. Like, you're in it with the mock draft. So it'll be a great time. So just keep an eye out on there. Check all of our socials. We'll definitely be sharing that. So like an NFL mock draft will be a lot of fun. And then Dan and I, and maybe a few others, will do a dynasty rookie mock draft. Maybe 1, maybe 2 rounds. We'll see how that goes here in a couple weeks before the NFL draft, just to kind of get a feel for where everybody's at before we know landing spots. And we all know, no matter what we say today, once we know those landing spots, opinions will change quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they change a lot for me. What about you, Dan? I don't want to speak for you, but they change a lot for me.
No, they do. I mean, it's all about the circumstances that player's landing in, right? Who else is complimenting them whenever they join that team? Who's throwing them the ball if they're catching the passes? Who's protecting them? What's their line look like? What's their scheme? I mean, all of those things are super important, especially if it's going to be, dictating how you guide your dynasty team or how you evaluate your players for your redraft leagues. So there's a lot of things that'll change my opinions between now and mid-September when the season starts, even 100%. Beyond the rookies.
Draft capital is big. I look at draft capital a lot, and especially, some of these quarterbacks, we expect 4 of them to go in the top 8 picks. So maybe that won't matter as much. But some of these running backs, after you get past Bijan Robinson, kind of seeing where they land and when they're picked. Do they fall late in the second round into the third, or they picked up early second? Those kind of things all play a little bit of effect into how I'll end up ranking them at the end. But let's jump in. Let's jump in to quarterbacks. There's 4 names. We've actually said probably all 5 of these names, but Richardson, Stroud, Bryce Young, and Will Levis. That's kind of the consensus top 4. Not in that order, but just those 4 guys.
Right.
And then Hendon Hooker, you mentioned earlier, is getting a little bit of steam here as we get into April. Another, like a guy that's truly, if he finds the right spot, similar to like a Mac Jones at 115 getting into the Patriots, it's like, oh, we know he's going to be the starter now, even though he was drafted after all the other guys. So Hendon Hooker could be that kind of not sleeper quarterback, but just another guy there. How would you rank all 5 of these in your eyes?
Yeah, man, I think the consensus number 1 is CJ Stroud. Just kind of watching what he was doing at Ohio State last year, everything was looking good. For me, I actually have another show for those of you that haven't tuned in before. We do a show called The Fastest 40, and one of my takes was that CJ Stroud would be the very first player off the board, and that was like 6 months ago now. So I've been riding him the whole time. Bryce Young, probably number 2. He has size issues or concerns, I guess you could say. Yep. I think he's only like 5'8", 5'9". So getting behind those NFL offensive linemen, we've seen Kyler Murray do it, right? So I don't think that's going to hinder him too much, but it could give some other teams pause. But he's likely to go number 2, and then follow after that. It gets a little wonky between Richardson and Will Levis. I don't know that I love everything about Anthony Richardson just based on his college tape, but all the intangibles are there, right? He has all of those skill sets that you would want for the modern quarterback. And then Will Levis was a solid pocket passer. I mean, pretty great game. And then Hendon Hooker is like the wild card at number 5.
Yep.
Coming off that torn ACL, he's having a phenomenal season there at Tennessee. I think they would have made some noise in the CFP if he hadn't gotten hurt. So Hendon Hooker, if he's able to recover fully from that ACL and come into the, like you said earlier, the right situation, I think he could make an immediate impact. And he's sneaking into the first round in a lot of mocks out there. So I think that's where I would rank those 5 QBs. It's kind of chalky the way I ranked them, just based because that's basically how everyone else is ranking them. But it all makes sense to me.
Well, you already know I'm not going CJ Stroud at number 1 or Bryce Young at number 1.
You like Richardson, don't you?
I love Richardson. Man, dude, all right, we're talking fantasy football. Look, I don't want Anthony Richardson leading my NFL team, right? I don't want that. But this dude moves. He's the number 1 ever quarterback on Player Profile coming out of college in athleticism. He is the most athletic quarterback they have rated. Player Profile hasn't been around a long time, but there's 250 so quarterbacks on there, and he's the best one ever. Just the most athletic quarterback. 650 rushing yards in 2022. I love this guy. I think that no matter where he's at, he's going to use his legs. And if you just want to see what I'm talking about, just look up some Anthony Richardson highlights on YouTube, and you're going to start to see a guy who flat moves, 99th percentile burst score, 99th percentile 40 time. Like, this guy moves, and when he gets to the open field, it's hard to catch him. And that's what I want to see out of my fantasy quarterbacks. I want guys who can run the football. If they're not named Patrick Mahomes, then they got to be able to run the football. Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Trey Lance, these guys, Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray a little bit. Like, those are the quarterbacks I always go after. I'm going to continue to go after. I stand by my brand. Anthony Richardson, the number 1 quarterback for me currently for rookies. And then I go right in line. CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, Will Levis, and Hendon Hooker. I do think there is a big tier break after Bryce Young to get into Will Levis and Hendon Hooker. So if I'm doing tiers, I'm going to put the top 3 together and then quite a bit of a tier break before I get to 4 and 5.
Yep.
But a lot can change. It's just a little bit of fun here early April talking these quarterbacks.
Absolutely. And, as these situations shake out, right, we see where players land. That's 100% going to impact the overall ranking. If Anthony Richardson lands in a spot where he's going to be starting day 1, I could absolutely see him going to Tennessee or something like that. Maybe they trade up. Colts obviously would start him day 1. Those are all very positive situations for him.
Kev's got this draft question here. If Stroud doesn't go 1, do the Texans still take Young at 2? I've got some thoughts around this, but I want to hear what your thoughts were. You're definitely more of the NFL guy than I am, right? Like, I'll talk fantasy all day, but you get into the NFL weeds a little more, so I'm really interested to hear your take on this.
Man, to be honest with you, I just cannot see a situation where the Panthers don't take CJ Stroud number 1 overall. I think the only way that CJ Stroud wouldn't go number 1 overall is if they end up trading back from that pick, which they've already talked about that potentially being something they do.
Which doesn't make any sense.
It wouldn't make any sense at all. But, if they are liking another quarterback and they want to maybe they want to go after Will Levis. I don't know. All kinds of weird things happen draft night. People get kind of wild, but I just don't see a scenario where CJ Stroud doesn't get taken number 1 overall. However, for the sake of answering the question, right, I don't think they go Bryce Young. I think if CJ Stroud falls to the Texans at number 2, then he's off the board to Houston. I think that's the best. If you're looking at starting a franchise with one of these quarterbacks, right? Anthony Richardson obviously has higher fantasy football potential with the running value that he brings. But with CJ Stroud, I think that's just a bona fide starter that you can plug in. Now, I don't know what his ceiling looks like, right? But he's going to be able to go in there and make plays and get you some wins, I think. So I think Houston definitely takes him number 2 if for whatever reason Carolina doesn't take him number 1.
The only reason I would potentially think that Houston would stick with Bryce Young, I feel like there has to be a little bit of sentiment to like, this is going to be our guy, right? Like Stroud's off the board. We know he's going to be taken. And then for whatever reason he doesn't, right? But the week leading up to it, we know they're taking Stroud. He's going to be off the board. We're taking Young. He's our guy. We're falling in love with him. You know what I mean? Like you start to talk about all the positives about Bryce Young. This is why we need Bryce Young over CJ Stroud anyways. Yeah, hype yourself up. It's a better pick. You know, does that make sense? Like that's what you're doing because you're expecting CJ Stroud to be gone. So you're only talking Bryce Young. You're only thinking Bryce Young. So in the heat of the moment, whatever surprise happens, Stroud doesn't go number 1. Are you able to like throw it all out the window? Like, just kidding. Everything we said was wrong. We're going
JK.
We're going CJ Stroud.
But what if the Panthers take Young, right? And then Stroud falls to you at 2. I feel like you'd have to do that. And if you're not in love with Stroud, then the Texans have the capabilities of trading back, acquiring more draft capital, and then taking another quarterback maybe they feel a little bit better about than Stroud, you know, or they can just take their guy right there.
Caleb Williams next year.
Right. Just wait it out for Arch Manning to come back in
right.
4 or 5 years.
Just keep tanking. Yeah, I think it's just really interesting to think through a lot of psychology with it. Sure. I agree with you. CJ Stroud to the Panthers seems like a lock at this point. I know we still have 3 or 4 weeks until the actual draft happens, but it seems like a lock at this point for Stroud to go 1 and Young to go 2. And then it gets a little bit, interesting that who's gonna go 3 and then who's gonna go 4 as well. But I think 1 and 2 are kind of solidified there.
Absolutely.
All right, you want to talk some running backs?
Let's do it, man. So running backs, obviously Bijan Robinson, number 1 overall. I don't think there's any disputing that. But as far as like after him, where would you rank these running backs? I don't think there's like too many varying degrees of separation from the next like 4 or 5 guys, in my opinion.
I think Jahmyr Gibbs at 2 is pretty set for me. I think that he'll be the number 2 running back off the board in the NFL draft. I think he deserves to be the number 2 rookie running back. I think that there could be a point to where, depending on your dynasty rules, depending on your dynasty teams, Jahmyr Gibbs could be talked about in the 102 for rookie drafts potentially. I don't think he should be. I won't rank him that way. Yeah, but I could see him, just because running back and there's, we talked about some of these guys from 2017 earlier, the Aaron Jones and Alvin Kamara. Like these guys are all like the studs that have been the studs for a while are all getting older and they're all going to start falling off. We saw Zeke fall off pretty quickly last year. Now Fournette doesn't even have a job and Hunt's
from
still out
that
there,
17 class.
Yeah, so we see that, right? They're all kind of getting to that age. So running back's going to start to get thin in fantasy football pretty quickly. So that's why I can see some of these running backs kind of continue to move up a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I do think Jahmyr Gibbs is number 2. I want to shout out Lee. He's always here with us hanging out. I didn't agree with a comment he made earlier, and that is not a great running back draft class after Robinson. I think the running back draft class is actually much better than we expected it to be. I'm overall not impressed with the 2023 draft class right now.
Oh, yeah.
After I expected to be. Like everybody last year was talking about the wait till the 23 class, sell your 2022 first-round picks for your 2020. Like, we were wrong. It's not.
I loved last year's class of rookies. I loved that class.
it is not hot like we thought it was going to be. These wide receivers, to me, are the ones who have fallen off quite a bit. The more I dig into some of these running backs, the more I like them. So for me, after I go Gibbs at 2, I think it's probably going to be, I like to call him Chardonnay, the wine, but what's it? Charbonnet? It's a
Charbonnet.
B in there.
Zach Charbonnet.
I think he's starting to become the clear number 3 in the class, a 6 foot, 214-pound back out of UCLA. Spent his first couple of years there in Michigan, goes over to UCLA, profiles as a workhorse style back, and he can catch passes. 61 receptions in his 2 seasons at UCLA. I like that with my running backs. And then the fourth one, if I were to go 4 deep here, because there's so many to pick from. Right now, I lean Sean Tucker out of Syracuse. I think that if he finds the right system here, he's going to be a great pass catching back. And, our PPR leagues, obviously, I love to get those pass catching running backs. There's very certain profiles that I really love in fantasy football, and a pass catching running back is one of them. Now, he's not necessarily somebody that a lot of people have in a top 5. He's probably top 10 for most of the running back rankings, but I think I like him here at the 4th running back right now.
Sure. I mean, I just don't know that. I don't know that I'm like in love with anyone in this class outside of Bijan Robinson. Like from a fantasy perspective, at least,
And we love him. Like he is.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of love. He's getting a lot of love. But there's just there's no Eckler for sure. We're not finding a guy that's going to come out and catch 107 passes as a rookie, right? We're not going to see anyone have that Christian McCaffrey breakout type of season their first year in the league. But you never know what's going to happen with these running backs. I mean, we saw, just to go back to the 2017 class, right? Kareem Hunt got drafted out of Tulane in the 3rd round, and I don't know that a whole lot of people really had him that in that high of a regard that year, and then he ends up being like a top 5 fantasy running back in his rookie season, and that was a job Spencer Ware held. Huh?
What could have been?
I know. I know. It makes me sad
so
to think
good.
about that.
Was it game 1? Was it the first game?
New England, he got like 3 touchdowns.
Oh my God. It was
he caught a bomb. He busted a big, it was crazy. And then he fumbled. I think his first carry was a fumble. And then after that, he just popped off.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. And he never fumbled in college. So it made it
could have been
even more crazy.
He was like, I'm just going to get this out of the way real fast, so I don't have to hear about it anymore.
He goes, all right, that's done. Let's move on.
Now I'm ready to score 3 touchdowns.
Right. But, if I'm looking at some of the deeper cuts, he did fumble. He fumbled that first carry, and I think they recovered it too. But if you're looking at some of the deeper cuts, like Kenny McIntosh out of Georgia, he has some potential. Kendra Miller out of TCU. Those TCU skill players, man, last year they were balling out, obviously, until the national championship game. They played those grown-ass men out of Georgia.
Yeah.
But they were balling in the Big 12 last year. So, I mean, I could see them in the right system. I think a lot of these guys are going to be, I don't know, maybe returning kicks and punts to start their careers out until they can make their way up the depth chart. You said something earlier. A lot of the 2017, 2016, 2018 classes of running backs are starting to get phased out a little bit. But last year, we had a lot of guys rise to the top that maybe you weren't expecting to get up there, right? Tyler Algier had himself a really nice season as a rookie, ran for 1,000 yards. Kenneth Walker, I think everyone expected him to come in and eventually take that job over. But there was a lot of guys last year that kind of rose to the occasion. So I don't know. I think it's a little more crowded than what we're thinking, especially if you're looking at the depth charts out there. There's not a lot of teams that have like a clear and open path for these rookies to come in and make an immediate impact. And the few that do, they're going after Robinson.
Yeah. And you make a good point. I mean, Pacheco came on. Rashad White is now the lead back in Tampa Bay after 1 year. I almost said Michael Carter, but that's not the cat in New York.
Brees Hall.
Brees Hall, like he came in. But and that's what I could see something like that happening with some of these running backs, where the Jets had Michael Carter, and then they're like, we don't care, we don't care that we just drafted Michael Carter. I don't think the Chiefs will go that route, but they could absolutely just be like, yeah, we like Pacheco, but we're going to draft somebody who we think might be better.
Right.
Right. Tampa Bay has Rashad White, but maybe they think one of these guys are better. They're just going to draft them. So I think that'll be interesting to kind of see how that plays out with some of these running backs.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of them. There really are a lot of them, and I think that we talked about landing spots. Landing spots for these guys are going to really play a huge factor. Are they going to be the number one immediately? Or are they going to be sitting behind a Tony Pollard, a Rashad White, whatever the case may be? Was Pittsburgh going to grab another running back? Those kind of scenarios. So
right.
I think about San Francisco going to draft their 15th running back behind Christian McCaffrey. So
they need another running back. I bet
they always need a running back. Right? Miami could get a running back, and that they've got Mostert, who's another 40-year-old, been around the league forever, right? So they could use a running back. Denver could probably use a running back depending on what Javonte Williams is doing. So
right.
I don't know. We'll see how the landing spots go with some of these guys, but it's kind of like pick your poison right now with the running backs. Which one do you like better? If you're in the chat, who's your favorite non-Robinson, non-Gibbs running back? Because I think that's where it starts to get really difficult. Is how do you feel about Gibbs? Are you like Gibbs after Robinson pretty easy, or do you kind of fit him with the rest of the pack?
I think it's pretty clear that he's going to be the next running back off the board, right? But I said it earlier in the show too. After Robinson, I don't know that the gap is that large between any of the other running backs from Gibbs through the end of the line. I'm definitely like Robinson's just so much higher than everybody else. It kind of makes the gap between the other guys look smaller. Maybe that's what it is. It's a perspective thing, right? But I just don't see the difference between those guys. And who knows, right? The situations are definitely going to be what makes other guys rise to the occasion faster.
So if you're in a super flex league, we'll drop past 14. Great question. Another NFL draft question.
Yeah.
Will Robinson drop past 14?
So Robinson at 14 right now is the Patriots, right? So
that's what I need for Stevenson's. All my Stevenson shares. It's for them to draft another running back.
Well, good news for you is the Patriots are so bizarre when it comes to draft time. Like last year, they drafted Cole Strange, a guard that was projected to go in like the 5th round. Like they just pick random guys that Bill Belichick likes and go from there, right? There's no rhyme or reason with their draft. So, I mean, past 14, I think there's potential for it. I don't know that anyone before then really runs like the risk of taking him, not that there's a risk, of course, but the Eagles, obviously they need a running back with Miles Sanders leaving, but at pick 10, I think there's so many solid edge rushers out there. They need to bolster their defensive line. There's a lot of really good defensive backs available. They need more safety help after Marcus Epps and CJ Gardner-Johnson left. I don't know that they don't go after a guy like that as opposed to Bijan Robinson. I think it's more likely that Robinson goes in the early to mid 20s, to be honest with you, just kind of like looking at the way everything has been falling to with Eckler's uncertainty, maybe the Chargers. I think he very likely could go to the Cowboys or the Bills. I think the Cowboys probably, he fits the mold. He's very Zeke-esque in that regard. I think there's a chance Jerry Jones pulls a trigger on him there. And then outside of that, maybe the Buccaneers grab him, right? To pair him with Rashad White. I don't know. I feel like those are the most likely destinations for him. I think there's a really strong chance he moves past 14.
Yeah, Buccaneers at 19. What about Vikings? Since we're on Robinson. Dalvin Cook, getting up there in age.
2017 class.
I'd say we talked a lot about the 2017 class. They're really good. It was a really good class. It's a great class. And
it's right up there.
Wise, like we've been using them forever, right?
It's right up there with like the 1989 draft class. It just had Mahomes. I mean, even if you look outside the running backs that were taken,
right? Yep.
Like it's just so much. TJ Watt. I mean, just some all-time players were pulled out of that class. But
so I bring that up because the Vikings. Vikings at 23. They're right in front of the Cowboys, the Bills, some of these teams that you just mentioned.
Well, they did.
I don't know.
They did just re-sign Alexander Mattison. Right.
Yeah,
so they have a pretty solid running back room this year. I don't know how much longer Dalvin Cook's contract runs, but they signed Madison for 2 more years. So, it's a possibility. But I think for the Vikings, their needs are more along the lines of a second wide receiver, right? There's a chance they grab someone like that. They need some help on defense, so there's a lot of secondary help or defensive line help that could get snagged there. So I think that's more where they go as opposed to grabbing a third running back option, or tight end. Yeah. The Vikings could go for another tight end too with TJ Hawkinson, pair them up. So,
all right, I want to ask you a question about running back since we're here. You get the 101 in your super flex. Let's talk super flex dynasty leagues, right?
Okay.
That's when we're playing 2 quarterback leagues. For anybody out there new to the fantasy football world, super flex is when you get to play a second quarterback, which usually means quarterbacks' values are way higher. I saw a screenshot of a startup dynasty super flex league. It was like 8 of the first 10 picks were quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And something like 15 of the first 2 rounds were quarterbacks. So quarterback value right now is really, really high. So I think that might have been even an underdog more than dynasty. But either way, that's kind of how that superflex thing works. So would you take Bijan Robinson 101 over, the aforementioned Bryce Young, CJ Stroud? I would say, just to paint the picture, normally – there's a quarterback going 101 in a super flex dynasty rookie draft. Like it's not impossible, but it's rare that quarterbacks don't go 101. You think back a couple years ago, it was like Trevor Lawrence, Trey Lance,
Zach
Wilson.
Yep.
It was like boom, boom, boom. Everybody's going. You're taking them all. But this year, would you take Bijan Robinson 101 over the quarterbacks?
Man, I'm not in love with the quarterbacks. Obviously, I haven't been super enthusiastic about them. It's hard to say. If it's a super flex league, like this is obviously in a vacuum, right? We don't know what I have on for the rest of my team, what that looks like or anything like that. But if I'm going into it and I need a quarterback, I don't foresee any of the viable options making their way back to me. But as for the running backs, that's something that I can grab another one of those guys in round 2, round 3 that could eventually make an impact. I'd rather roll the dice on running back than quarterback in a 2 QB super flex league, right? So I'm probably going QB 1 overall, and I'm probably taking CJ Stroud or Anthony Richardson. You kind of compelled me to move him up my fantasy board, not my NFL board, but my fantasy board for sure.
Yeah, I would say that one thing that we'll continue to talk through as the offseason goes along and getting into some draft stuff with fantasy drafts is you got to know your league. And one thing that I do, which is probably weird and a little bit overkill, we have our 16-team league. I talk to I know what the draft order is, and I talk to everyone. And I try to get a sense of what they do. And I create my own mock draft of what I think everybody's going to do if they were to draft, right? And if they don't really give me a lot of information, I'll go look at their team. I'm like, man, this team has 0 running backs, and they're picking 14th. They're probably going to just pick whatever running back's best. And then I kind of use my own ranking. So obviously they could take somebody else. But anyways, all that to be said, one, if I have to pick 101, I'm taking Bijan Robinson over the quarterbacks. I just think that his talent, He will be an immediate starter. He'll be an immediate impact for your team. Super flex or not, I don't think that these 5 quarterbacks, if you want to talk all 5 of them, I don't think they're going to have immediate impact.
Yeah.
I will be surprised if any of them are starting on day one, right? Just because of the caliber that they are versus the caliber we've seen in the past. We don't have a Trevor Lawrence in this class, right? We don't have, I
No
would probably
Burrow
have
or
closer
Herbert.
to Zach Wilson, Trey Lance type players than we do Herbert and Lawrence type players, right? But Bijan Robinson, he's going to start. As soon as he's drafted, he's the starting running back for whatever team he gets drafted by. That's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
And so I think that I would be interested in doing that. All that, even, I would actually probably just look to try to trade it off. And not deep, but maybe talk to 2, 3, 4. Hey, you got a guy you love? All right, come get him. And then I'll slide back 3 picks, maybe snag a 2024 first or something like that with it. Because I don't necessarily – I'm not like I have to take Bijan Robinson over these 3 quarterbacks in a super flex, but I would. So in that sense, I'll slide back to 104. I'll take the 4th guy that's left.
That's more the strategy that I would like to implement, I think. And I feel the same way kind of about the redraft leagues even. I know it's early to be talking about that for sure, but with the just kind of what the rankings are looking like right now, I don't know that there's any clear number 1 guy. So if I'm picking number 1 overall, I'm looking at, okay, do you love somebody? I will be happy to move back in that instance. So I 100% agree with that scenario here for the rookie dynasty drafts. That's probably what I would try and do as well. Pick up some extra capital, aim for a pick maybe next year that I can burn and go from there.
Yeah, I think non-super flex, I'm taking Bijan Robinson because I think there is a tier break there after Bijan, like even with wide receivers, and we can start talking about them next.
Yep.
But I think there's enough of a tier break that I would have to take a big, a big paycheck, a couple picks maybe extra to get 101 in like a non-redraft 12-team league. Bijan should be pretty highly sought after.
Absolutely. So wide receivers, let's get in there. There's quite a few guys that are getting mocked into round 1 for not just for the NFL, but for fantasy football as well. You pose a question here, so I think it's a pretty good one. Are there any of these receivers you draft over those quarterbacks? You're obviously going Bijan number 1, and super flex or not. I mean, does that sway your decision at all?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think super flex, I'm going Bijan and then the 3 quarterbacks before I get into any of the wide receivers. But if it's not super flex, that I would probably these quarterbacks for me, they're probably going to land at the bottom of the first round if it's a non-super flex. So of course I'll take these wide receivers. Maybe this Smith Enigma might sneak up there in a super flex, but to me, he's my number 1 rookie wide receiver. He's not going to be, I don't think, like Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson, one of these guys that just immediately are superstars. But he should be drafted in the top, 15 maybe of the NFL draft. So he's going to be on the field early and often for an NFL. If he's going to be drafted that high, they're going to put him out there. He's going to be utilized early and often in the NFL season, which I do like a little bit more, than like George Pickens last year got drafted a little bit later.
Right.
Or, Sky Moore and back into the second round. So those kind of athletes, you like what they bring to the table, but you're not fantasy-wise, you're not really sure how they're going to be utilized early. A guy like JSN is going to be drafted early. He's going to be used early. So I like him the best, and he might get up there in super flex leagues, but he's probably my number 2 in a non-super flex rookie draft.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, JSN he's the clear cut number one, I think, amongst all these receivers. He's been getting a ton of praise coming out of Ohio State. Like, obviously, that's a wide receiver school. A ton of really
Oh
good
yeah.
receivers come out of there. And they said he was the best receiver on the team that featured Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr., who everyone's waiting for him to come out, and him. So I think that carries a lot of weight. Obviously, Brian Hartline, the wide receivers coach over there at Ohio State, is really doing some great things for those players. So, I mean, he's definitely somebody that I'll be taking a flyer on if I get the opportunity to. But someone I really like is Quentin Johnston out of TCU. He's a real big body kind of guy. I think he brings a lot of that NFL size into the league, and I'm really excited to see where he lands, because that's somebody that, if I'm in a dynasty league, I'm going to be targeting late first round maybe. After all those QBs kind of get pulled off the board, I think that's where a lot of people are going to be going anyway. But pick 7, pick 8, 9, 10 in that range. I feel like you could scoop a pretty solid receiver in him. And then in your redrafts, I mean, those are the kinds of guys you take flyers on too.
Yeah, those are your 12th, 13th round type of rookie wide receivers that you
Right.
want to take in a redraft league for sure. If you're here in the chat with us, who's your number 2 wide receiver? Assuming JSN is number 1, Jackson Smith Enigma. Assuming he's number 1,
Right.
who's number 2 for you? If you're in the chat with us, let us know. Dan's going Quentin Johnson. I like Quentin Johnson. I like what he has to bring.
Yeah.
I really like Jordan Addison out of
I do too.
USC.
Yeah.
I would probably I don't have him like ranked right now, but I would probably have him up there. I worry about Quentin Johnson. I love his size. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, I love his size, but how many did he have? Less than 10 touchdowns? Like, I'm pretty sure he had less than 10 touchdowns this year, something like that. But it just didn't feel like they used him around the end zone as much as I would, and that could just been a TCU thing, right?
Right.
But the game, I watched a little bit of TCU. Of course, they were good this year, so they're on TV a little bit more often. They're on the ESPNs, the late games, those kind of things. So you kind of see them a little bit more. And I remember just going games without really thinking about Quentin Johnson, and that's not what I want. Like, I want to know he's out there all the time,
Right.
making plays, being a force to be reckoned with. He might be able to take that step in the NFL with his size, but that kind of worries me a little bit. And then, with Jordan Addison, I don't really think about that as much. He is a guy that we see out there. I love his highlight reel.
Yeah.
I like what he brings to the table. His athleticism is not off the charts, but it's really, really solid. Other than that, there's a lot of names. I mean, a lot of names, right, at the wide receiver position. Maybe 1 or 2 of them will surprise us, but I can't get excited about this wide receiver class right now. How are you feeling just overall about this class?
Well, I mean, we've kind of already hit on it a little bit. I feel like the rookie class in general is kind of a little bit down. Jordan Addison, yeah, he's up
Jordan
there.
Addison, question mark? Are you asking if he's the number 2? Or are you? He's a wide receiver for USC, if that's who you're asking.
Yeah, former Trojan. But Zay Flowers is getting a lot of love out of Boston College. That's someone who, a lot of NFL scouts think is going to come in and make an impact. Jalen Hyatt and Cedric Tillman out of Tennessee both have potential. I've seen mocks sending them to Kansas City quite a bit in the end of the first round, which I'm not in love with them. So if we were to go with Hyatt or Tillman in Kansas City, I'd be maybe a little bit disappointed with a first round pick. But if Jordan Addison slipped to us, if Zay Flowers slipped to the Kansas City Chiefs, I'd be thrilled. But yeah, I'm with you, Kev. I mean, after JSN, it's Johnston for me, and then Addison, and then Flowers, and then after that, it's kind of like a hodgepodge of guys, right? Maybe Hyatt / Tillman. Marvin Mims and Rashee Rice are getting a lot of love. Rice out of SMU. I'm trying. Josh Downs from UNC.
Yeah.
He got a lot of love, but those ACC guys,
Kayshawn Booty, is it Booty?
yeah, Booty, yeah.
Booty.
I just can't get excited about the ACC guys. You know, I don't know. I feel like that's not the type of football that really produces a lot of good player or a lot of quality play, unless they're from Clemson. You know, that's like pretty much it.
Yeah, I'm on the same page with you of some of these wide receivers, and you know that'll change over the next month as we kind of dig into them a little bit more. We do a little bit more research on them, and of course, you know, there's still going to be a couple pro days left. There's still going to be some evaluations that we'll be able to kind of follow, and then landing spot again. Landing spot will be one of these guys lands in Kansas City. His freaking value is going to skyrocket. Look at Sky Moore last year. We're taking him in the 7th round of redraft leagues. Like, what are we doing? Why are we taking him so early? Because he's fast and because he plays for the Kansas City Chiefs, right?
Mahomes is throwing him the ball.
Exactly. Like, the guy barely finds the field. And he fumbles it twice against the Indianapolis Colts. So, like, you just kind of, you know what I mean? Like, we got to see where the landing spots with these are. We keep saying that, but at least I keep saying that. Maybe that'll make me a little bit more excited about this class. And maybe it's just because we've had a lot of really great wide receiver classes over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And we
We're
just
spoiled.
don't, you know, exactly. Like, maybe we just need a class that's not that great. But another, like, the area I might be a little bit more excited about than anywhere else, the tight ends, Dan.
Me too, man.
The tight ends. Like, this is like the tight end hype train, baby. It's real.
It's a renaissance.
and it starts with Darnell Washington out of Georgia, right?
What
like
an athlete, man.
Holy cow, he's so huge.
He's like what,
so
6'7", 6. He's like 6'7", right, or 6'8", but he also runs like a 4.4 or some shit like that. Like, it's just insane.
I've watched some of his highlights before. I'm like, oh my God. Let's see. He is 6'7", 264 pounds, 34 3/8 inch arm length. Oh man, he is his speed score for tight ends came in 96th percentile. 84th percentile in 40-yard dash. So he's not only big, he's also fast as well. His athleticism score was pretty good.
But Michael Mayer out of Notre Dame's getting a lot of love. I think he's going to come in and make an impact. What do you got? Some more Darnell? Give me it.
Yeah, well, I found well, it's not showing. Hang on. I was gonna see what this was. A nice little Darnell Washington. Look at this guy. Anyways, we don't have to watch a lot of Darnell Washington, but look at him.
That's a grown ass man right there. Good luck, DB. And he's rocking the 0. Hopefully he gets the 0 when he comes in the league.
That's right. I like the 0. I don't know. Could you hear it? Like, did the sound come through? I don't
Audio
know
wasn't coming through for me, but man, I mean, he's the tip of the iceberg for me for tight end, right? I think he's the number one. He's the one I'm most intrigued about, especially from a fantasy perspective. I think he's going to be a freaking beast. But Michael Mayer for Notre Dame is up there. Dalton Kincaid out of Utah. First of all, I feel like Dalton Kincaid is like an actor's name. Like, I don't feel like he should be a tight end. Like, he should be starring in Westerns or something. And then Luke Musgrave out of Oregon State. I mean, those are the 4 prime guys as far as tight ends go. Yeah, go Irish.
Go Irish.
He's holding it down for South Bend.
Washington is a beast. He absolutely is. Where do you think NFL wise? Where do you think some of these guys go? Like, who are any of them going to be drafted in the first round?
Yes, 100%. I think the funny thing about this draft is that the most premier players that are coming out of college right now are offensive linemen, edge rushers, and tight ends. I think that's like the position groups that hold the most value coming into into 2023. So, with these guys, a lot of mock drafts have them going late first round. But there's a lot of tight end needy teams. And I think that's why teams like Dallas and Las Vegas, they were so willing to let their tight ends walk because of the class that's coming in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're kind of looking at, the way the picks are falling right now, later, they're going to go late first round is kind of where I'm thinking. But the Lions, they have a very clear opening at tight end where they can grab one of these guys.
Yep.
The Seahawks, they don't really have a clear-cut number one. They have Noah Fant and Will Dissly, but I feel like these rookies, they can make a bigger impact. The Chargers have Gerald Everett, but that's still kind of an open book if you ask me. And then the Jacksonville Jaguars. Exactly. And then the Jaguars, they franchise tag Evan Ingram. Maybe they just hold him for a year, let him walk, and take one of these rookies. And then once you move past that, you're looking at the Cowboys and Bills, who could absolutely use a tight end, and the Bengals need a tight end. Hayden Hurst left. So, I mean, there's just so many spots where these guys could get picked up. New Orleans at 29 could take a tight end. They have Jawan Johnson. They re-signed for an extension, but outside of the red zone, he was basically ineffective, and they're not going to line Taysom Hill up at tight end every game. Derek Carr is going to need someone to throw the ball to. So, I mean, I absolutely see these guys getting snagged towards the end of the first round from picks, 22, 23 through 31. Some mock drafts have the Chiefs taking a guy.
I was thinking about that. Like, I don't know. Like, would this be the time to...
That's a sad conversation. I don't like that conversation.
I know, but would it be the time, I don't know. I got to
honestly,
my name to Darnell Washington truther.
Well, I'm going to say this too. I was kind of run down that vein. If it came down to pick 31 and we could take Jalen Hyatt, one of the random edge rushers that are getting mocked to us down there late, or Darnell Washington, I feel like I like the Darnell Washington upside, and that's where I would go. Yeah.
I like it. Why? Man, side note, StreamYard allowed us to put something underneath our name, and now I can't make it happen. I don't know why. Like, it gave us an extra a name. Like, you got your display name, but then it had another one. I was going to put Darnell Washington Truther underneath my name. Come on. Darnell to KC. Let's go.
Let us have it. Let us have it, StreamYard.
Bring D-Hop. Bring Darnell Washington. Just have the biggest freaking dudes that you can find play for the Chiefs. They're also going to have some of the fastest, right? We still got Kadarius Toney in town.
MVS is pretty tall.
MVS, well, he's still going to be a field stretcher either way.
Yeah.
Bring the bigs in there too. That would definitely be a different style of Chiefs offense for sure. With the
hey, there'd be no tape on it.
That's right. That's right. You never know.
People wouldn't know what to do.
Dan, what do you think, man? That kind of hits all the positions here for the rookies. Plenty still to talk about over the next month. But you got anything else for the fans?
Nah, man. I loved getting back after it, talking some of these rookies.
Absolutely.
With this episode coming up, it kind of forced my hand to get a little more involved in the in the rookies. I'm honestly glad.
Talking trades last night with a couple guys just because I'm like, all right, I'm getting into them, doing my research down. Hey, what are you going to do at 102? I'm like,
yeah.
Are you interested in moving that pick? Because, I don't have any top picks. As a champion, as a, playoff seeker every year, it's hard to get these top 5 picks.
Oh yeah, you don't find Trevor in the bottom 5 too often, baby.
That's right. You got to make big moves to get there.
10 through 12.
And hopefully it's 12.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
I agree though. It's just diving in a little bit was a lot of fun, and we will next. I think we're in agreement. We're going to come back in 2 weeks on the 19th.
Yep.
We're going to do a rookie mock draft for Dynasty. We'll bring on a couple of guests, maybe inside the network, maybe outside the network, maybe a mixture of both. But we'll bring on some guests. I'll pull up the Sleeper app like we always do, and we'll just run through a mock draft and have a lot of fun and talk through the rookies and really allow, the people who are drafting them to kind of give their take on why they're picking said player at that time. I think that would be a lot of fun just to kind of go through and give people a little bit of a taste of what a rookie draft might look like if they were drafting before the NFL draft. So that'll be a lot of fun. Looking forward to that. Dan, I will sign off myself and say, follow me on Twitter at TrevorS_FF. Go check us out over on Bite Size Sports, baby. We are growing. We are going to continue to add new live shows, hopefully soon. But it's been a great time over there. We got a great group of guys. And if you're interested in hosting, hit me up. We're continuing to expand. But nonetheless, go over there, hit the subscribe button. Go see Kev and James tomorrow night on The Bounce every Thursday night. Getting ready for the NBA playoffs coming around the corner. Check out our Necessary Roughness NFL show next Tuesday night. I will be on that show next Tuesday. We're talking Chiefs.
Nice.
So Dan, make sure you jump in the chat, man. Tell them or tell me how bad I am at talking Chiefs. We'll talk all AFC West. But I'm going to come on so we can talk my Chiefs and what they should be getting in the NFL draft. So a lot of good things happening over at Bite Size Sports. Come join us and subscribe to the new YouTube channel, man.
Yep, everything Trevor said. And then, of course, give me a follow as well on Twitter at Dan_TF40. Representing the fastest 40 at the fastest _40 as well. That's my NFL and Chiefs-centric show. I run with my good friend Trey Lawrence. Make sure you follow ADP on Twitter as well at ADP podcast _FF. That stands for fantasy football because we're bringing you the very best in it. And give Bite Size a follow as well. Bite_size sports on Twitter where you can catch all those shows and the links. Appreciate everybody. Peace.
I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, 5 and a horse, I'm ready for war, I'm coming for throats, to turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. Now you be surprised at the info you get is by letting them talk, so I'm letting